What up, y'all? This is Patrick Haize, and today this video is about the 5 common sticking points that prevent people from taking action, from making change, from transforming into that person that they want to be in life. Now, all 5 of these sticking points are things that I've experienced in my life, that I've worked through in my life, and they're things that I continue to work through on a regular basis. They're things that I have to keep my consciousness aware of and constantly check in about, to be sure that I'm not falling into these sticking points, because they're extremely common and they're things that if we're not paying attention, they're really easy for us to get caught up in. So, the first sticking point is apathy, or not caring, or feeling hopeless. But apathy is a good title for it. It's basically when we just don't really care, or it's like I'm not really concerned with that. Now, apathy is a surface emotion. It's a surface disposition, because underneath apathy, most of the time what exists is a lack of belief in yourself, right? It's the belief that nothing can be done. The belief that things are hopeless and we're helpless, and so why even bother? And apathy is something that's rampant amongst humanity, especially because of the oppressive societies that people live in. It's just, we've gotten our will and our excitement beat out of us, and we just are like, yeah, it's no use, it's not worth it. But this is the very first thing that we have to overcome if we ever plan on stepping into something greater or doing something greater. We have to realize that this belief that we can't do it is, first off, false. And second, it's basically just dead weight. It's holding us back. Because the truth of the matter is that we can do a lot. We can do amazing things. Look at what people have done in the world. Look at the transformations that people have documented on the internet. There's so much potential in us that it's ridiculous to think that we can't change things or can't do things. Now, an individual might think, well, maybe they can't do something. But anybody can look back on their life and remember times that they've succeeded at things, remember times that they've overcame hardships, they've seen the transformations that they've made, and they can use that as evidence that they can change or make a change. See, it all just comes down to, are we willing to initiate that change ourselves? And can we motivate ourselves to initiate that change? And so it's a simple pattern of thinking. It's looking back at the things that we've done and realizing that we can make change, that we can transform, and knowing that by referencing those times that we have transformed, and then saying to ourselves, well, you know what? I'm going to take a stab at changing, whatever it is that we want to change, stepping into myself, or starting a YouTube channel, or whatever it is. I'm going to decide to do that. I'm going to decide to change my disposition and stop being so negative and start thinking positive, whatever we feel inspired to change. Now, the idea behind it is that we have to realize it's best to start with baby steps. So if the idea was like, oh, I'm going to start a YouTube channel, well, it's not just like jump into it and, all within one day expect to start a YouTube channel. But identify those things that we would need to develop within ourselves in order to start a YouTube channel, like understanding how the YouTube algorithms work, understanding getting comfortable in front of the camera, all these sorts of things. And then creating a list of baby steps, things that we know that we can achieve. And so when we list out the baby steps with things that we know that we can achieve that funnel into the greater goal that we're trying to achieve, then every time we achieve one of these small baby steps, we can celebrate and get that little dopamine boost. And then that can boost us enough to continue us down that path of success. All right, so this is how we can beat apathy, by knowing that we can change, and it's all about taking baby steps and doing one thing at a time. So you don't have to swallow the whole big picture at once. You have the big picture as inspiration, and then you just create the baby steps all the way to the big picture and celebrate every step on the way, right? So we know we can change, so apathy's out of the way. Now, one of the funny things that happens when we're apathetic, and this brings us to number 2, it brings us to another sticking point. And the second common sticking point I want to talk about is denial. And denial is a big one, because actually it's apathy oftentimes that creates this denial. Because when we're in this apathetic position of thinking that things are hopeless and there's nothing that we can do to change, then it's a lot easier to cope with that reality or that paradigm by just denying that we even want to change. By saying, you know what, I'm happy. I'm happy with my life. I'm happy with, this, crappy 9-to-5 job that I have. I'm happy with this dysfunctional relationship because it's too painful for me to actually look at the fact that I'm not happy, because then that would drive me crazy. So denial is a huge thing that prevents us from taking action, because it's basically coming from like a fear of looking at what our true desires and what our true expressions are. A fear of looking at what things could be like because we think that it can't happen. But until we get past denial, until we get past this, no, I'm happy, I live a happy life, when we're really, truly deep down inside miserable, until we get past that, we're stuck also. Now, this is a major sticking point. Now, in order to get past our denial, we have to have some sort of measure of self-honesty. We have to really be willing to sit down with ourselves and say, what is it that we truly want in our lives? What is it that would truly make us feel fully expressed, happy, healthy, wealthy, wise, excited to live our life? All of these things that every single human being truly wants deep down inside. But some people have kind of, due to apathy and due to denial, have decided that, maybe that's something they don't deserve, something that they can't have, and have kind of just decided, I'm just happy with this, mediocre life that I live. So the second sticking point is denial. And that's something that we can get over just by being honest with ourselves about what we truly want. Realize everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to live a super adventurous, awesome, exciting life that inspires us. And if we're not living that life and we think that we're okay with that, we're just lying to ourselves. Okay, so now number 3, fear. And this is huge. This is obvious. Fear is the major crippler. Fear is what keeps so many people. It's like they say when you're so scared you couldn't even move. That's exactly what it is in a grander metaphor of life. Like so afraid that you can't even move forward in life or take action or change things. But there's all sorts of different fears that are preventing people. And a lot of them are neurotic fears regarding particular circumstances or particular phobias. But the 3 that I want to talk about right now that I feel are super relevant for humanity as well as relevant to me are the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, and the fear of responsibility. Now, the fear of failure is obvious. Everyone has it to a certain degree, but it's something that's relatively easy to overcome. All you have to do is understand that failure isn't actually failure. Failure is just a stepping stone to success, and this is pretty common amongst self-help philosophy. Most people have probably come to this conclusion, at least on an intellectual level, that in order to succeed at something, you're going to have to fail. It's just a matter of how you frame it in your mind. If you're learning how to punch correctly, if you're practicing martial arts and you're learning how to punch correctly, but you can't get it to connect as you're hitting the bag, and you're bending your hand the wrong way, or you're maybe missing or something. Every time you miss or hit wrong, you don't beat yourself up over failing. You realize that it's a learning process, and that's how everything is. It's just with things that are more instant and quick in the moment, like something physical, like if you're trying to learn how to pour tea or something like that, you realize that it's a learning process and you're not a failure for spilling it, but it's like your first time learning. And so it's, each failure, it can actually be seen as a stepping stone towards success. So that's how you can get over, the fear of failure. Now the next one, and actually the fear of failure really bleeds into the next one, because the major reason why I think a lot of us are afraid of failure isn't so much that we don't understand that failure is a stepping stone towards success, but rather that we're afraid of being judged by people for our failure. And so the second fear, the fear of judgment, actually ties really closely in with the first one. So the fear of judgment, the fear of condemnation, the fear that if we speak out or if we do something different or if we fail at something, that we're going to look bad in the eyes of other people. And how I look past this fear, how I beat this fear, is actually there's several things. One is having good intention, having pure intention. So whatever it is that I'm doing, whatever I'm trying to succeed at, whatever it is that I'm trying to achieve, is having a good intention, having an intention that is in service of other people, having an intention that I feel is morally sound, something that I can stand behind, right? The second thing is doing my absolute best. Because when I do my absolute best and I have good intention behind it, the only kind of judgment that I would receive from another person would be a judgment that's easy for me to dismiss. Because if I'm doing my best and I have a good intention behind it, I'm trying to help people, I'm trying to serve the planet in a positive way, when I'm doing that, the only kind of people that would actually judge me are people that are like, what are you doing? Like, get a life. Seriously. Like, some of the trolls that come on online, it's like, they'll type all sorts of like trying to be hurtful. And it's like, is this seriously what you do? You like watch people online and judge them that way? And basically their opinion holds no water to me. And it holds no water because I know what I'm doing is in alignment. It's in alignment with my morals, and I'm doing my best. So, to reverse the tables, like, who would I be to have to judge someone else for doing their best and having good intentions? If anything, if I saw holes in what they were doing, I would try to assist them in some way, and I would approach them in a gentle and uplifting kind of manner. So anyone that would judge or condemn me for doing something that is in my best ability to be noble, it basically, it means nothing. It means nothing to me. So this is an easy way to kind of get over that fear of being judged. Now the third one, this one's tricky. This is the fear of responsibility. And I don't think a lot of people take this into consideration. But this is a major sticking point for people, because when people realize that, to step into this next level of expression, to be this grander person that we're attempting to be, or that we know that we are deep down, it's going to require a whole lot more responsibility to uphold that new level of expression, to uphold that new person. If, back to the metaphor of making a YouTube channel, it requires dedication to continue to make videos every week. And a lot of times when people are faced with the responsibility of up-leveling, they kind of fear that responsibility. They fear the fact that they might have to, put that much effort on a regular basis into making videos, put that much effort into a regular basis to think more positively, if that's the goal, or to stop being gluttonous if the goal is to be healthier, or whatever it is. It's that fear of responsibility, the fear that we're actually going to have to whip ourselves into shape and stay on a regimen of some sort in order to accomplish this. This can be a deterrent for a lot of people. So fear of responsibility. This is something that in order to overcome, we just have to prioritize what our true goals are. In other words, see what's at stake here. If we decide to ignore those things that ultimately will bring us the fulfillment in life that we know that we truly want and that we deserve if we take action on it, then we're going to live a miserable life. And so maybe we can live a miserable life and not have the responsibility of making the videos or trying to correct the way we think or whatnot. But ultimately, we're going to be less fulfilled. So when we just really clearly prioritize what deep down is most important to us, and we realize that responsibility is actually it's a small price to pay for getting the ability to truly be our greater selves. And an easy way of doing this also is, like I was saying, with the stepping stone thing on the earlier one, is to clearly write out all the things and come to an understanding of all the responsibilities that we do have, and kind of sit with that for a while so that we can get used to the idea of the kind of pressure that we'll be under when executing this greater level of expression. And at first it might seem a little bit more overwhelming, but like with anything, as you get more into the rhythm of it, it becomes easier and easier. And sometimes sitting with it and kind of going over it and at least understanding mentally what it'll take in order to do that makes it a little bit easier and diminishes the fear, so we don't feel so overwhelmed when we're preparing to take action or bite off a big piece. Now, number 4, the next one. This one is huge, and this one is not really spoken about very much, but this is waiting. Waiting is like the major killer of dreams, because there's a disposition, it's especially big actually in the conscious community because of all these time-based prophecies that are always being released. But the whole idea beneath it is not being in creator consciousness, but being in reactor consciousness. In other words, we're waiting for something to happen for us to take action. If this happens, then I will take action. If I get an inheritance, or when I get my inheritance, then I'll start taking action. Or when the world shifts, when the paradigm shifts, and there's a place for my expression, then I'll start expressing myself. When, if. This is huge. And like I said, it's huge in the conscious community because of time-based prophecies. And this is something that I don't think a lot of people take into consideration, but this is something that I experienced firsthand with December 21st, 2012. I waited until right around December 21st, 2012 to really start snapping into my game. And the reason I did that is because it was kind of like an alarm clock. I didn't feel like I felt like nothing was going to happen until then. Like there was going to be this huge change then, and so there wasn't a whole lot that I had to do until right before the change to prepare for the change. And this is the same thing that I'm sure happened with people with Y2K. This is the same thing that's happening with people right now with the whole coronal mass ejection, I think it's called, thing, where people are waiting for this like coronal sun mass ejection that's going to shift the consciousness of all humanity. And what this basically can be is a permission slip for people to just be like, oh, well, everything's going to change at this point, and so basically I don't need to do anything now. Like I can just wait for it to happen. But this is like the worst approach to it possible. Because number one, if things do change, it's important for us to be prepared for the change. And two, if oftentimes things don't change. There were changes that happened in December 21st, 2012, but they're not like a lot of people anticipated. It wasn't how I anticipated. I thought it was going to be like all of a sudden, like all the consciousness shifted and we like moved into this utopian paradigm, but that's not what happened at all. And so if I was totally banking on that, and I somewhat was, and just like waiting for the shift to happen to me, then, I would just be sitting there waiting, and then when the date rolls by, I haven't done anything. And it just kind of keeps people complacent and stuck. Now, this goes beyond that. This goes for, like I was saying earlier, like anything in life. It's like, what are you waiting for? You're waiting for the right partner. Maybe you're waiting for a boyfriend or girlfriend, or you're waiting for the right camera, or waiting for the right amount of money to come in, or whatever it is. Well, the point is, whatever you're waiting for can be waited for while you're preparing for it. And that preparation is basically doing everything that you can in the moment so that whenever a shift happens that you may be waiting for, that you're ready. Great quote is that luck is when opportunity meets preparation. And without the preparation point, basically, even the change could happen and it'd wipe right by you. Or you wouldn't be able to meet that change with the preparation necessary to really fully take advantage of it. So what it comes back to is saying, what can I do right now? What's my vision? What do I want to create? And what can I do right now? And it doesn't matter if all of the things aren't in place, but actually taking action on what you can do right now will help start shifting things and shift you into the vibration that is that's necessary for you to actually seize the day and take advantage of the opportunities when they do come to you. So taking action now on whatever you can. Now, number 5. This one is another one that's overlooked, but it's one that's super crucial, and this is proactive procrastination. And this is one that I got tricked on for a long time because it is exactly what it sounds like. It's procrastination, but it's done in a way that's quote unquote proactive. So this would be like, instead of making the YouTube video, studying YouTube videos for longer than you need to study YouTube videos, or studying algorithms for longer than you need to study algorithms. It's like reading a book on basketball instead of playing basketball. It's that kind of thing where we might have some apprehension about the actual action steps required to really start breaking through the ice. And since we have that apprehension, we convince ourselves that, oh, well, we need to read another book on it, or we need to analyze it more, or we need to think about it more with our friends, or whatever it is. And this is basically procrastinating, but doing it in a way that's fooling us into thinking that these are actual action steps towards our goal. And it's a slippery slope because we do need to prepare. We do need to prepare ourselves mentally. We need to prepare ourselves emotionally. And we need to think things out before we start taking action. Otherwise, we will run into a whole slew of problems. But there's definitely a point where it becomes procrastination. And that point is something that we need to learn to identify with ourselves, where we can say, are we not taking the jump because we're nervous? Or are we not taking the jump because we still truly need to clarify this extra piece? In fact, we'll know that we're ready to take the jump and that we're actually not procrastinating when we're really excited to take action, but we're holding ourselves back a little bit because we know we need to get a couple other things in line before we do. That's a way to know that it's necessary for you to take these extra steps and do a little bit more research. But if we have this feeling where we're always, it's kind of like an uneasiness, like we're afraid of it, and well, let me check this out, or let me look at this dimension, or let me look at that dimension. We can know that that's basically proactive procrastination, and it comes back to that vibration. We can feel that anxiety in us, that kind of aversion type of mentality that is preventing us from really taking the step forward and keeps us just analyzing that step instead. So these are the 5 sticking points and solutions. This is Patrick Haize. Thanks so much for tuning in. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, and put comments in the comments below if you've had experience with these sticking points or if you've tested some of these solutions. Tell your story. So I'll talk to you guys next time. One love. If you liked the video you just saw and you want to support me in bringing more content like that to you, donate to my Patreon page. There's a link pinned in the comments below, and when you donate to the page, you get access to all sorts of cool giveaways like exclusive content, free music downloads, monthly group chats with me, and more. Now, every single donation that comes in goes directly to improving the quality and the quantity of my content. So thanks so much for your support, and I'll see you on the flip side.